Hey, welcome to Tell Me How You're Mighty, real talk about cheating. I'm Tracy Shorn, the blogger known as Chump Lady, where I implore people to leave cheaters and gain lives.
And I'm Sarah Gorrell, radio broadcaster by day, single mother of 4. And 13 years ago, my ex walked out on his family for his affair partner. And it didn't feel like it at the time, but my life is so much better without him.
And we're here to tell you that you are mighty. We survived infidelity, and you can too. And this is our podcast. Welcome. Hi, welcome to another episode. It's Tracy, Chump Lady here this week. And Sarah is off again, sadly, but we are joined once again by our friend, Jenny, otherwise known as the Happy Hausfrau blogger. Welcome, Jenny.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So we had an eventful week this week on my blog on Chump Nation. What happened was we got a shout out on National Public Radio's show, It's Been a Minute, with the host Brittany Luce. And the topic was, what really counts is cheating. And the teaser was, are we too afraid of cheating? And my answer to that is, get back to me after your abnormal pap smear. So apparently we are all too ridiculously hypervigilant about cheating, and we see abuse everywhere. And so the guests who we will be discussing, who were putting forth their opinions, were Catherine Jeser-Morton, who's a columnist for The Cut, and Shannon Keating, who is a freelance culture reporter. To my knowledge, neither of these women have been divorced or chumped, but they have very firm opinions on our experience. So Jenny, I knew that you were the right person to discuss this with, because you kind of have a whole side hustle on taking down smug people who like to tell us how to navigate infidelity and divorce on the internet. And so I know you have to listen. Tell me your thoughts about smug people who haven't lived it.
I got to tell you, Tracy. So like I told you, I had to listen to this drivel twice. I actually had to stop, go back, because I was trying to take some notes, but I also could not believe that it's 2025, the year of our Lord, 2025. And here were 3 women who sound like they're in their 40s, perhaps.
30s, I think younger, yeah.
Or to be younger? Oh my God. Okay. And I thought I was listening to like some crunchy trad wife, like How to Please Your Man. It's okay. Just let him do it. I was horrified.
Give grace. Give grace. I know. It's like the ghost of Phyllis Schlafly, you know, like.
Great.
Right? I know. Is it in the water or something? I know. I think these people do not think that they are, I want to say sucking the dick of the patriarchy, but I need to not get right out of the gate with my potty mouth. But we have thoughts, and we probably, look, we're just a bunch of bitter bunnies, right? Because, I mean, that's kind of what they were costing us.
Oh, yeah. Hate it. Bitter, old, sourpusses.
Sourpusses, yeah. We see abusers everywhere. And the example, I mean, I occasionally get,
I'm a victim.
And that we, just paint cheaters with a broad brush. They're all the same. Your boyfriend made out with somebody at a New Year's Eve party and got drunk or something is on par with your experience of a guy who walked out on 4 children and didn't pay for them and had a mistress. And I mean, or mine, which was like, has a double life, threatens to kill me.
That's in my notes. Making out with someone at a club is okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, is somebody walking out and leaving you with small children and no money? And oh my God, these women.
I know, right? So I would love to know what they think cheating is, because, okay, well, we're just going to wade into it, okay? You can listen to it yourself on NPR. Go look up the episode. And the Universal Bullshit Translator is going to read some tidbits and react to them. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say, for context here, Jeser-Morton of The Cut is not unfamiliar to me, because last summer I got kind of caught up in this, I don't know, what a mean girl fight, something going on. So Sarah Manguso, who's been on the podcast, wrote a book called Liars, which is a really great book, even if you have not been chumped, but it's the first person account of a woman going crazy from gaslighting and covert domestic abuse. And she wrote a book about it. And it ruffles some feathers. And Jeser-Morton wrote a piece in The Cut where she objected to "you go girl" affirmation culture. That, if there's a problem with women getting online and like comparing their stories and terrible things happen.
Oh, if I may interrupt you for 1 second. during when she mentioned your name, when she mentioned Chump Nation, I could hear her eyeballs rolling in the background. I was like, oh, sis has a problem with my Tracy. Yeah, I could hear her.
Hey, Jenny, I just want you to know that the New Yorker, Peril Segal, has called me a subversive cartoonist who put crazy ideas inside Sarah Manguso's head. I'm just a cartoonist, don't you know?
Right, that's all you are.
That's all I am. I'm a cartoonist with weird hair and crazy opinions. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna read our first Jezzer Morton quote here. We're gonna have the Universal Bullshit Translator do it.
I think that the way that we define cheating is really linked to the way that we define love and romance. And I think that those are very culturally determined ideas that have changed a lot over time.
Jenny, your thoughts about this bullshit? That cheating is really linked to romance, which I have many thoughts about this. I think that's nuts, but
that was part of what they were discussing that was really mind-boggling to me. I mean, aside from the fact that it's three women who it sounds like have never suffered through a traumatic betrayal. I mean, one mentioned she'd been cheated on, but to me, that sounds like her boyfriend in college made out with somebody at the club. But one of the things they said that really stuck out to me was, if you want to experience love, you will suffer. Like, they made it sound like this is all part of the romance. This is all part of the journey of love.
The beautiful tapestry of suffering.
Right. Like it's some sort of rite of passage to get shit all over. And I don't understand where they're coming from with this. I was angry, but very confused.
The best interpretation I have is they have not experienced it and they haven't thought of it very clearly, but they're going to offer opinions. But I think, I've made the point, but I'm going to make it again, is that cheating has nothing to do with romance. She's talking later about, overcome with passion, and cheating is not about romance. It's not about our hurt feelings about being rejected. It's about deception. Cheating is unilateral. It lacks consent. It's saying that I want you to devote your time, your resources, your energy, your sexual fidelity to me, and I am going to feign a commitment to you that I have no intention of honoring so that I can extract value from you, right? That has nothing to do with limerence or feelings or, warm fuzzies in your groin. It has everything to do with deception. And so people who've had this happen to, that deception has real costs, right? STDs and lost time and
absolutely.
Your story, my story, right? Real costs. So to have these women trivialize it and also to talk about it out of the context, will be gendered for a moment, of like violence against women and actual domestic violence, gender bias in the court. If you have not lived this nightmare and you want to be flippant about someone cheating on you, in your case, your ex walking out on 4 children and leaving you with the bag in every sense, and that you could say, oh, well, but he felt romance. It was romance. Let's talk about cheating. It's offensive. It's so offensive. So it's a red herring. It's a red herring. Romance is utterly beside the point.
No, I know. It has zip to do with romance. Romance is not even in the same neighborhood.
Well, but that's an excuse we get. The heart wants what the heart wants. The true love. Okay, we have another nugget here for you.
So, something that I've been thinking about a lot is the influence of therapy talk and therapy culture on relationships and intimacy. Now young people are learning, I have needs, I have expectations, I have boundaries, and here is how I express them. I feel like that's just, a good thing, but it also introduces this new way of thinking about romance, which is that, if I'm going to have a partner, I'm going to express my needs to them, and now I expect them to meet my needs because I've been clear about them. And so I think there is a way in which, romance has been a little bit, sapped out. If we think of love as a set of behaviors and expectations versus a set of feelings, then it, brings in this other idea of what cheating is, because it's, instead of cheating as someone being swept away by desire, maybe it's they're doing a breach of contract. They're not fulfilling the set of expectations that were clearly delineated. You know what I mean.
When I got cheated on, I was not mad about a contract that I had, okay? The monogamy contract, has been violated. I was upset because I had been defrauded, because I had been put in a very vulnerable place, not just emotionally, sexually. My whole life had moved for this man. So when I found out, it wasn't that, we were dating and I locked him into a contract and he violated the terms, like he broke a rental lease or something. No, it's completely misunderstanding the point of what this experience is.
Right. I didn't like that. They were going to talk about contract.
Right. And what is wrong with laying out your expectations? It's like people should go into romance without any boundaries, and shit happens. And, who knows? If people get hurt, the little people get hurt.
I think it's like any other relationship. It's like parenting. You don't go into that thinking, he might go off and find another mom and dad for a little bit. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. That's his journey. It's going to be fine. No, it breaks so many other things. You don't even need to bring a contract into it.
Yeah. And like the therapization. Yeah, the therapization. We've all been freebasing too many pop psychology articles. And we're throwing around narcissist willy-nilly. And which there's a point in that. And which is why I call them fuckwits, because I don't have a PhD in psychology. I just think people who behave unethically and are fuckwits, right? Which is what this is about. This is about rules for thee and not for me. This is about oligarchs and our present political moment. It's about fuckwits, right? So yes, we should have boundaries with fuckwits. We should have boundaries with everyone. You should have boundaries with your mother. I mean, you should have boundaries. That's being a healthy adult. And so I'm not entirely clear because there's 1,000 likes in this, but what Jezra Morton's trying to say. But I think she's trying to say romance, if you're really going to have romance, you're being kind of silly if you're expecting to have boundaries and standards.
Right. One thing about the therapization discussion they were having, she said, it's like they're saying, I must be able to accuse them of something. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. You should be able to accuse them of something. They've done something wrong.
Well, see, this is the thing. And I think that's another aspect of the whole conversation that was missing, is that chumps are being portrayed as paranoid people, or even people in love are potential chumps. And it's being conflated with the actual experience of being cheated on. And it's wildly different things. I mean, first of all, the problem chumps have, the problem I had, was not paranoia. It was trusting and bonding and believing the things that my intimate partner tells me. And I was not insane to believe those things because this man was deceiving me. He was presenting a front of commitment to me. He asked me to marry him. He pursued me. He stood in front of his friends and family. And, 6 months later, I discovered he had a mistress. So I'm not out of my mind, right, for believing commitments that were made to me. So this isn't like I was paranoid and I'm looking at his phone while we're dating. The chump experience is the human experience of bonding with somebody and they have a different agenda. You're being used and abused. And that's why it's so terrifying. I mean, that's why people are vulnerable about it, right? And I think that's why it brings out the mean girl in some people, because they can't imagine being this vulnerable.
You don't want to imagine it if you haven't been through it. I would not wish it. Well, I would probably wish it on a couple people, but it destroys you from the inside out. And you are a changed person. It changes you forever. It changes everything about you. Some for the good and some not so good. But you don't suddenly become a victim and everybody in the whole world is out to get you. No, but you do. You have a little more of a jaundiced eye looking at people in your life.
You have discernment, which is what Jezra Morton is saying you should not have, that you have fair possession. You're thinking about boundaries and expectations, and maybe you should let some of that shit go. And especially after you've had your trust shattered. I'm constantly telling people, look, you got to get out there and trust that you're resilient and that you can enforce your boundaries and that you can get out in the world. Don't live in a bunker. Go out and love again. And I'm not saying a partner. I'm just saying get out there and be in life. But have standards. Have standards. This would be like the opposite advice. Like have no standards and just be a big raw nerve out there in the world. I really honestly don't know what they're advocating. But we're bitter bunnies and Yeah.
Yeah, there was one thing they said. Where did I write down? Oh, they said that we're living in a red flag culture where everything's a red flag. And they said that's not doing us any favors. And I'd say, on the contrary, it's actually probably empowering more women.
Yeah.
You'll be able to say, guess what? You know what? That happened to me. Be careful because it's exactly what happened. You're giving women or men who are dating, whatever, you're giving them a little insight and some power.
Well, that's how the discussion began. And I really wish they would have had a discussion about this event. There was an app called T and it was hacked, or sort of like the Don't Date This Guy Facebook pages where people are comparing notes. Now, you could argue it's a digital lynch mob, and there could be an argument made for that. But you can also argue that women in a space where we don't get a lot of justice are comparing notes and trying to save the next person some pain. Anyway, however you feel about these apps, the app got hacked, and then the women who had been outing these bad actors, or so they said bad actors, were doxxed, and all their identification came out. So I think that would have been an interesting conversation. Here are women trying to compare stories, and now they've just imperiled themselves even more. What does that mean about our culture today? But instead, we got off on infidelity and being, a drunken snog on the dance floor. So we didn't talk about the serious violation of these women who were trying to compare their bad experiences.
It turned into almost like a really mocking conversation. I didn't like how they were looking down on people who have dared to speak out about what has happened to them, sharing their stories and how it's made them feel.
Yeah. If you're a smug kind of person, another person's vulnerability may seem mawkish, it may seem embarrassing, cringe, whatever. But if you're somebody who's navigating this and feels really alone, because these are real monsters exist. You and I were married to freaks, right? It's a lifeline to find other people who've been through it.
It's such an isolating, scary thing to go through. And I'm so grateful for all the people I met, 10 years ago. There were a few other divorced women who had blogs. And just to know that there were others out there going through it was so, so comforting. It wasn't he was saying, oh, and poor me, I'm a victim. He's a terrible person. We were all just kind of like, I got you. We're here together.
Right. Having done the blog now for 14 years or something, at this point, it's an enormous data set. It is people, not only are they sharing their stories, but it's all archived. So you can go back and you can read that stupid shit cheaters say is incredibly banal and predictable. And someone tried the same lines out on somebody else, 14 years ago. And just realize that you're not special and it's really not that different. And there's a certain solidarity in that. And also, you can realize that there's real costs. I mean, so my feeling is, they're telling us to offer grace and stuff to cheaters. I'm like, offer grace to people who've been victimized by this. If you have not experienced it and you don't know what you're talking about, perhaps shut up. So I have yet another quote. This is from Luce, who's the moderator here.
According to YouGov, 55% of Americans believe flirting with another person is cheating. 64% say the same about holding hands with another person. And 73% say the same about forming an intense emotional attachment to another person.
Okay, so I think what the point here they're making is this is some pearl clutching about infidelity. And then to put it on to Chump Nation that we're saying holding hands with somebody who isn't your partner is domestic abuse. I have never made that argument. The argument what I would say about these things and why people disapprove of it so strongly is when you're in a relationship with a cheater, they're constantly trying to make you feel off balance, right? They're comparing you. They're goading you into doing what I call the pick-me dance. And they're devaluing you. And also the affair partner, because it works both ways, to keep the triangle, dodecahedron, whatever going, that you have to keep everybody off balance so that you can be the central star, the narcissist.
They're fighting over me. Oh.
Yeah, I'm so special. So this survey, I imagine that's what the majority of people are reacting to because they know that very familiar mindfuck. I disapprove of emotional affairs because adults fuck, right? I mean, usually you're not just stopping at snogging on the dance floor.
They were saying that in their opinions, none of this really construed, it's not cheating. And I'm like, holding hands with somebody when you're married and you want to be out holding hands with another person, maybe it's not, penetration, But it's physical contact, intimate. Holding hands is a very intimate thing.
Sure. So this comes up a lot on the blog, like how many cheaters can dance on the head of the pen? What's cheating? What's not cheating? Is porn cheating? Is sexting cheating? Is holding hands cheating? And I always come back to the same answer. Is it acceptable to you? Is this relationship acceptable to you? What are your boundaries? Do you feel safe? Do you feel respected? Do you feel loved? Do you feel like this relationship is reciprocal? And again, getting back to the women comparing notes online, the beautiful thing about Reddit or online communities is that you go, oh, I found my husband holding hands with somebody. He says it's innocent. You throw that up on a Reddit board, you're going to have a bunch of people going, no, that's shady as fuck. No, red flag culture. You've got perspective. The internet, for good or ill, is giving you perspective, a larger perspective on that behavior. That's a good thing because Mr. Handholding, you've experienced, I've experienced, is probably mind fucking you, is gaslighting you.
Of course he is.
That is the tip of what you know. Now, if it's actual handholding and that's all it is, and you're okay with that in your relationship, God bless. It comes down to what your boundaries are, what you're comfortable with, what makes you feel safe.
Bottom line, that's how it is for all of this. Some people are completely fine with their partner having a side piece or several side pieces. Some people are fine with that. And you know what? Go ahead. Awesome. It works for you. That's great. There's a bunch of us, though, who it's not okay. It's not all right.
And I would say if you know about it, then this is not a cheating relationship. It's an open relationship. It's consensual. We're talking about somebody feigning a commitment that we're giving and we're not getting the same back. But the thing is, that sounds like, oh, you're being petty. You got a bigger piece of cake. That's not what it is. It's that I have been deprived consent. I don't know the truth of my life. I wouldn't have lent you money. I wouldn't have moved cross country. I wouldn't have given up my career. I wouldn't have had that third child. I wouldn't have done all that had I known the truth of you. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, I was floored by these women.
Okay, well, we're going to read the loose one.
Now, I am married very happily, and I'd have a problem with some of this if my husband did it, but I don't think that I would consider all of these things to necessarily be cheating. I know that can come down to a sort of individual definition. What I do find interesting about all these statistics is that at least there's a chunk of American people, if not a majority of American people, possibly, who kind of view all of those actions as roughly this, like, with at least some idea of the same level of intensity, firmly on one side of a very hard line.
So I guess my first thought on that was like, you're very happily married. You don't know what we're talking about.
No, it would be like me walking into a dentist convention and giving my opinion on the new methods and techniques. No, I don't know anything about it. People that do, you go ahead and talk about it. I know jack shit. I can speculate from way over here, but I haven't been to dental school. I have not worked on people's mouths. Oh my God.
Well, the thing is, show me credible evidence where we're conflating all of this as the same thing, saying that they have the same level of intensity for everything. It's a straw man argument. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing that flirting or emotional affairs are the same thing as having a hooker habit or a long-term affair. Nobody's arguing that.
It's all under the same umbrella. It's like a spectrum. There are so many different levels.
My point goes back to the same point, which is all of this behavior is about devaluing your partner and trying to make them feel unsafe and goading them into competitions.
Absolutely.
So now we have one from Keating, which we'll have the universal bullshit translator read.
I think it comes from a place of maybe expecting the worst from people from the jump. Like, to put these things in such specific boxes when the truth of relationships, of all human relationships, are so messy and difficult. It just seems like trying to approach a relationship to be, like, a one-size-fits-all method to all relationships, which I don't think is doing us any favors.
And here's Jezzer Morton again.
Well, I wrote a little bit about Chump Nation in a column I wrote last summer, so I hate to, beat the same drum again, but it is a little bit related to a therapization of the self, which is like, I've been harmed. I'm in pain, therefore, I must be able to accuse them of something. I must be able to apply a label to them that characterizes them as, fundamentally harmful. So, yeah, This person is an abuser, and I don't feel comfortable equating cheating with abuse personally.
Again, who are these people with the one size fits all? I guess we're damning cheaters by saying, I don't accept that in my relationships. Like, can you show me the ethical cheating, the, non-harmful, non-abusive cheating? Can you give me an example of that? What does that look like?
There is none. These women it blew my mind what they were saying. They said that those of us who have been through this and who talk about it online or wherever, that we're imposing some sort of rigidity to relationships, like wanting to protect yourself and wanting to have some clear, very clear, healthy boundaries is harmful. And that's not. I don't understand where they're coming from.
I guess they're coming from a place of having not been cheated on.
They've never had their entire life upended, I guess. No.
The commentator on NPR asks about Chump Nation and that we're really adamant that cheating is abuse. Okay. And then she wants to know, how did this definition gain traction and why do you think it resonates with some people? And then she goes on to ask people from who it does not resonate, right? They're both kind of dumbfounded as to why the idea that cheating is abusive would find traction. I'm going to ask you, because you got cheated on. Why do you think the idea of cheating abuse has found traction?
Well, here's my notes from that part, Tracy. Said conflict is not abuse. And I literally stopped and I said out loud to nobody, LOL. It's adorable that you think it's all just conflict. You think that it's just differing opinions. You think it's, I don't like how you made me feel.
Communication styles.
Divorce is not just a conflict. I mean, it is a fight to survive. It's trying to keep everything in your life okay while somebody has a machete and is just cutting everything apart.
So conflict is not abuse. I mean, I was blown a gasket at that one because to me, that's like Darvo mindfuckery. To use therapy speak that I guess I'm not allowed to use, but that's, this little jujitsu here. So I first heard that concept explained by an actual trauma specialist who we interviewed, Diane Strickland here. From the Chump perspective, conflict is not abuse, is the reconciliation industrial complex. So if you're a chump and you go into marriage counseling with a cheater, they want to talk about your communication styles. They want to talk about what you did, your inadequacies, what need you weren't meeting that made his dick wander, right? And the criticism from people who do see infidelity as a form of domestic abuse and coercive control, it's that therapists want to see something that is abusive, this non-consensual abuse of this person, the double life, as a conflict, when it is in fact abuse. It's abuse. You've deceived and defrauded its intimate part. You've given them diseases. You've imperiled their fertility. You've harmed them. It's financial abuse, right? And so we're constantly told as chumps that this abuse is just a conflict that we are having with a cheater. And so then to hear this pipsqueak throw it back on our faces that we don't know what abuse is, that we're somehow mind-fucking people by saying, the abuse that we have suffered is just conflict and we are overreacting to it. I'm like, no, you give me specifics because what I'm giving you are specifics, right? When we talk about what really happened, when we talk about your ex walking out on 4 children and you can't pay the mortgage, when we're talking about my ex threatening to kill me after I discovered he had an affair, a long-going affair, and defrauded me and made me move my home and invest in his career the whole time he was cheating on me, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about actual abuse, right?
Abuse can come in many different forms, and it's all abuse. It's waking up one day, checking my bank account, and seeing that I was $700 negative because a credit card that he had in my name hadn't been paid. I woke up, I had minus $700 to my name. That's financial abuse. Abuse, there's so many different hats, and it's not all just, taking a bat to somebody or punching somebody.
And did he ask you, Jenny, when he went and spent that money?
No.
Feeding the 4 children he brought into the world? No, he did not, right? I really don't understand why you're so bitter and difficult about this. I don't understand why you don't see the romance.
I'm like, oh, good for him. He found his soulmate. That's great. It's fine. We're fine. The kids and I are just fine.
It all worked out. It's all for the best. It's all for the best.
Character building.
All right, if we were going to do another one with Jezra Morton, I would like your reaction to this one.
Well, I wrote a little bit about Chump Nation in a column I wrote last summer, so I hate to, beat the same drum again, but it is a little bit related to a therapization of the self, which is I've been harmed. I'm in pain, therefore, I must be able to accuse them of something. I must be able to apply a label to them that characterizes them as, fundamentally harmful. So, yeah, this person is an abuser, and I don't feel comfortable equating cheating with abuse personally.
We kind of touched on this a little earlier, the whole, I'm harmed, I'm in pain, therefore I must be able to accuse them of something. We're not harmed in a vacuum, right? That normal pap smear did not just come on by itself. The $700 did not disappear from your account by itself. We're not just having feelings, random feelings.
No, it's not old man screaming at clouds. You have reason to feel hurt because we have been hurt and abused.
Yeah, and that's a natural reaction to being defrauded.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, if someone embezzled your pension fund, you might have some strong feelings about it. The problem isn't your feelings. The problem is there's an embezzler who unethically stole your money.
Yeah, in black and white on your screen. It's not just me, oh, I'm so sad. Everyone sucks. Everyone's a cheater. No, this is actual damage that's been done to your life.
Right. I know, we're preaching to the choir. Okay, we're going to end with a big bang here.
The lack of cheating, a relationship where there hasn't been cheating, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a great and healthy relationship. There could be so many different negative dynamics that are going on that maybe a couple affairs weren't the worst thing that ever happened to you. There's so many different ways that we as people can betray each other and let each other down.
A couple of affairs, that's no big deal. So my reaction to that was, girl, just say he cheated and you accepted it. To me, that is like a sure sign that she has been a chump.
I think she's been a cheater, if I was to guess, but I don't know.
Oh, you went dark, and I like that.
Yeah. I'm on to the whole Esther Perel mindfuckery of, it's not the worst thing. There's other ways to betray somebody.
Yeah, pretty high up there on the list of ways to shit on your partner.
It is. And so here's my thing with that whole, we have all these different ways of betraying people. And I would come back to, is it acceptable to you? If you think financial abuse is someone's hiding their credit card bill from you or something is on par with a couple of affairs, so you can divorce them for that. It always comes back to what's acceptable to you. But here's my point about the murky little mindfuckery of that statement. If someone abuses me, if someone punches me in the face, if someone is verbally abusive, or somebody is wantonly spending money and I know about it, but will go to punch me in the face, that's a very honest exchange. If you punch me in the face, Jenny, I know you don't like me. I know that you hurt me. And I know that it was you that punched me in the face. There's no secret. There's no nothing. It takes about 3 seconds to punch me in the face. That is a very different magnitude of hurt than if I lost 20 years to you and you pretended to be my devoted partner and I followed you around the globe and we raised children together and I invested in your career and then I found out that you had a double life. And you talk to any chump, and those of them who have actually been punched in the face, who have the interlap of domestic abuse and chumpdom, can tell you it is far more painful and more damaging to be defrauded, to be chumped, to be cheated on.
I started over at age 40 with 0 savings, 0 retirement, 0 career because of the fraud. I would have rather had a upper right cut to the jaw, It would have been in and out quick.
Yeah, it's not even comparable. I mean, that's the thing. It's the deception that is so dangerous. And it's the fact that the person closest to you has done the cost-benefit analysis of harming you in this way and decided that their jollies or their power high or however they are behaving this way is more important than your well-being.
They have determined you to have 0 worth in their life. And I think that is almost, if not more, harmful than a black eye. It changes how you feel about yourself and it changes how you see all relationships. That's abuse.
Yeah. And I hope these 3 women never experience it, as much as it would be nice to wipe the smug off their faces.
They're nicer than I am because I kind of hope they do. I'm past being nice. Talk to me when you've had a couple of affairs,
Talk to me about that abnormal pap smear you got. Yeah, when you get in the cervical cancer, circle back. Let's talk about your opinion then. Well, that's it this week from two bitter crones cackling in our little coven. And now we're going to go have our evil cocktails because Jenny, I had to bring Martini to this discussion just to deal with this level of bullshit and insanity.
I have to tell those ladies thank you because I haven't had a martini in quite a while, and tonight's delicious.
I think you need to raise a toast to them.
Here you go, bitches. Here we go.
Reach out to us. You can check us out at tellmehowyourmighty.com or check out the blog at chumplady.com. I'm always open to your suggestions there.